Hello students, today we are going to learn about secondary economic activities, that is lesson 5 in your textbooks. So before I begin with secondary economic activities, just let's understand what exactly it is. It is basically the processing of everything you got from the primary economic activity to manufacture or produce goods. Example, manufacture cloth from cotton, sugar from sugarcane, steel from iron. All these are secondary activities if you see, because the final product is to be produced not by nature but has to be produced by men. And some process of manufacturing is essential. So some more examples if you think of, like chemical and engineering industries, aerospace management, energy utilities, breweries, bottlers, if we can talk about construction and shipbuilding also, this all comes under secondary economic activity. Now, in the previous chapter, we have learnt about primary activities. Now, this is a connect after the primary activities. What happens? So this is a connect. What grows into secondary? What gets into secondary activities? Where the product is directly obtained from nature. We saw it in the previous chapter. Some products obtained through primary activities are utilized. They are used directly, while some are processed and made into a more durable product. Now, what does durable over here mean? Which lasts for a long time. The products obtained from the primary economic activity are used as raw material in secondary economic activities. So why we did the first chapter as primary economic activities? Because the basis of secondary activities is more so on primary activities. Further processing of these materials takes place and a manufactured finished product is prepared to sell it to all the consumers. Now basically you know that everything over here in this chapter deals with manufacturing or producing goods at the second stage. It's at the second stage, as in manufacture cloth from cotton. Now cotton is got from primary activity, but when it is manufactured into cloth, it becomes a secondary activity. Primary activity is sugarcane, what you get in primary activity. Sugar is secondary activity, what you get from sugarcane. Secondary activities add value to natural resources by transforming raw materials into valuable products. Now, as in my introduction, what did I say? All these are secondary activities, but the final product is not to be produced by nature, but it has to be made by men. So some of the manufacturing is essential over here. So that's how when these products are from natural resources, when they are transferred into raw materials, they become valuable products. Secondary activities therefore include manufacturing, very important, processing. There's a process which it goes through, construction, as I said, construction and shipbuilding, infrastructure industry. The place where conversion of products obtained, if there's a conversion of products happening or got from primary activities into final product takes place is called a factory. A small definition which can come across as define factory. So you can write this as a definition. While studying all these examples, you will understand that the location of an industry is dependent on many factors. To set up an industry, now to set up an industry, there are a lot of things what you require. One needs raw material. Basic thing what you require is to carry on the processing or manufacturing, you require the raw material. That has to be transported from somewhere. So yes, it has to be transported. Transportation also is a very important part. We know that the raw material for industry is the final product of the primary activity. The characteristics of the raw material and also the finished product affect the location of industry. Now, certain products are perishable. So when they have to go through the processing, they need immediate processing or they will perish. For example, sugar industries need sugarcane. Sugarcane, now what is the reason why sugarcane uh, farms or crops have to be near to the industries? Because they lose weight and amount of sugar after harvesting as time after harvest increases. So this affects their effective use for producing sugar. Thus, sugarcane needs to be sent to nearby factories as soon as possible. Sugar industries are therefore located near the production of raw material. Now, there can be a good reason why sugar industries are located near the production of raw material. So, the reason is what we just discussed. On the other hand, in bakery industries, the final output, say cake, has higher weight than raw material. Baking has become much bigger than what it was before. Many people have become home bakers. But when there is an order or a delivery, the cake has to be delivered in a certain period of time because it gets spoiled very fast. So what happens in bakery industry, the final product output, say cake, has higher weight than raw material. I mean, the final product is of more weightage than the raw material. This will be costlier to transport, as transport costs will increase with weight. Therefore, bakery industries are located near the market. Let us look at the factors which affect the location of industries. What are the factors which affect the location of industries? The first one is climate. Now these are the physical factors, the actual factors. On ground factors. Climate. Harsh climate is not much suitable for establishment of industry. Now when an industry or a factory or a plant is located in a certain particular area where the climate is not helpful or conducive, it's very difficult to carry on the processes. There may not be any industrial development in extremely hot, humid, dry or cold climate. Now extreme climates, I mean in Antarctica or Arctic, can you have? No. Can you have in some certain places of Africa where the climate is not conducive? So industries cannot set up over there. For example, the extreme type of climate of Northwest India or extreme North India hinders the development of industries there. North India is like extreme places in Kashmir and Ladakh. Change in climatic conditions, for example, may also affect industry. Now, if there is a sudden change in the climate conditions, and now because of the climate changes and the global warming, there are a lot of fluctuations in the climate around us. Sometimes it's very cold, sometimes it's very hot. So this also is going to affect placement of industry. For example, chronic drought. Now this droughts also plays a very important role, and if there are lots of, there is droughts happening time and again, it is going to affect the location of industry. In contrast to this, the moderate climate of western coastal areas is quite congenial to the development of industry. Now there's a part of India, western coastal areas, which is the west side and the coastal areas adjoining those, is quite conducive for the development of industry. Earlier, when artificial threads and mechanization were not used for making textiles, cotton thread making required humid climate because thread breaks in dry climate. Now, there is particular climate for certain products which have to be made or the finished products. And if you have high and good quality products, climate has to be taken into consideration. So one of the reasons why cotton thread making required humid climate, because the thread used to break in dry climate, so it can't be located. Now establishment of these cotton industries cannot be there in extreme places. Next is availability. No, then it is because consecutively majority of cotton textile mills were concentrated in coastal parts of Maharashtra and Gujarat. Now Maharashtra and Gujarat, why? Because they have a climate which is suitable for this kind of industry. Artificial humidifiers are used in dry areas these days, but it increases the cost of production. Now I can add on to the machinery. Okay, and I can get a lot of solutions. But this also adds cost to my production, and the final product, the cost of the final product also increases. Availability of raw material. Raw materials used in industries mainly come from farms, mines, forests, fisheries. Third, location of industries is dependent on the nature of raw material. Now, what kind of material has been got along for that industry? That also makes a difference. As I said, sugarcane has to be near these industries. What is the reason? We have spoken about that. The industry is dependent on perishable, heavy and bulky and weight-losing raw materials such as sugarcane are located near the raw material area. The jute mill, the sugar mills are mostly concentrated close to the sources of raw materials for this very reason. Similarly, industries processing local fruits are found near Mahabaleshwar and Nagpur. Now, Mahabaleshwar is quite closer as compared to other places where Pune is concerned. So, the local fruits which are available can be easily brought into the city, Pune city. Perishable fruits which have very low shelf life need to be processed soon, and hence they are located near these cities. So this is availability of raw material, and the second physical factor is the climate. Now, water and power supply. Almost all the industries require plenty of water for various processes like cooling, smelting, washing, etc. We've seen that these industries also cause water pollution because of these reasons. Why? Because there are a lot of water being used for processes like cooling, smelting, washing. And after all the processing is done, the water, the dirty water is left into from the industries into the water. So they cause water pollution also, these industries. Third, such industries are located near the banks of rivers or secondary lakes. Coal, oil, electricity are indispensable energy resources in running any type of industry. Now you need electricity because machines are there, lots of mechanization, procedures, scientific methods are used. So you need a lot of electricity and power in running certain types of industry. And coal is heavy and bulky also. Thus, industry is dependent on coal as energy resource are located near the mining areas. Now, coal is gotten from the mine areas. So you have to be located near the mining areas. Electricity and oil can be supplied through wires and pipelines easily over long distances. Hence, industries dependent on it need not be located near the source region. Now, there is a method, a way to get electric supply or electricity. So, if they are a little far away from the source region, doesn't matter. So, water and power supply play a very important role also in as physical factors or location of industries. Mind you, now we are understanding why, which are the factors which are responsible for a location of industry. So, water and power supply also play a very important role. Now, labor. Labor, different types of industries require different types of labor. For example, construction, mining industries or textile industries require semi-skilled labor, whereas semi-skilled which do not have thorough knowledge, they are not fully trained, but they are somehow, somewhere they are trained. Whereas food industries, food processing, ornament making require skilled laborers. They need to have thorough knowledge of what they are doing. In spite of increasing mechanization, some industries still require large amount of workers. Now, there are certain industries which can deal with, they can go completely into automation, robotics. Some they require machinery, mechanization is there, but some industries we cannot work without manual labor. So they require this large number of workers. Hence, we find that labor colonies are found near large industries. So there are certain large industries where these labor colonies are located which require only manual labor. transportation. Now the fifth point is transportation. The cost of transportation and time required to carry goods is known as economic distance. Now this also makes a lot of difference. When you are carrying goods, the person who's carrying these goods is going to charge you some money, the amount of petrol which is required. So all of that put together also adds to the cost of the final product. The cost of transportation and time required to carry goods is known as economic distance. Low cost of transportation is the key factor in the location of industry. If it's easily accessible or it can be transferred from one place to another easily, so it's a key factor. Transportation becomes more important in this part. Cost of production will be more for heavy, bulky, perishable raw materials and for longer distances. But obviously, if it's heavy material what is being carried, bulky, perishable, which requires immediate transportation and longer distances. So the cost will be higher, and the final product for this, or the cost of the final product what you get in the market also is high. So for example, transportation of coal. On the other hand, lightweight and non-perishable items can be bought from far distances through cheaper transportation, like waterways. So it depends on what kind of raw material is being carried from one place to another, and depending on the raw material which is being carried, cost of transportation also fluctuates at that level. Such industries may be located near the ports or rivers. So, for example, cotton, textile, or pulpwood. Now, there are certain examples which require low cost of transportation, some require high cost of transportation. So, all this is more clear and easy to understand when you look at the raw materials. And if you can differentiate between the perishable, non-perishable items also. Site or availability of land. Site requirements for industrial development are of considerable significance. Now, the place where you're going to construct or establish an industry or a factory or a plant also is very important, and it has some significance. Location should be generally flat and well served. Now, flat means what? It should be on a plain surface and well served by adequate transport facilities. Now, I have chosen a place where I'm going to carry my transportation, I'm going to carry the processing, I'm going to have laborers around. But it should be well served by transport facilities, means commuting, because it's like suppose laborers are involved, so commuting for these laborers should be very easy. Large areas are required to build factories, so the amount, the acres of land required also has to be taken into account. Earlier industries were concentrated near urban areas, but now urban areas in closer to the vicinity or the cities, these industries were located, concentrated. But now, because of non-availability of land and high prices, there is tendency to set up industries in rural areas. One big reason why these industries are being set up in rural areas is because of the high prices. We know the prices of land over here in urban cities is skyrocketing. So sometimes it's not affordable, and overall put together, if you have an establishment, it's very difficult to have an establishment in rural areas. For one big reason is this: is the high involved income, the high money involved, investment involved, capital investment involved in it. For example, Lod Parshuram Industrial Area in Chiplun and Chakan in Pune. Now these belts, Chakan, Wagoli, Serangut, these places are heavy industrial areas. So if you have to invest over there, it requires high capital investment in today's time. So over here also what we've spoken about, transportation as well as sites. Now coming to this is economic factors. Now what is economic factors talking about? Proximity to the market. Now the entire process of manufacturing is futile, means is of no use until the finished goods reach the market. Now whatever you have made, whatever you are manufacturing, you are producing, it is for whom? It is for the consumers. It has to reach to the consumers. So there is a market which is already created. Now if the market isn't nearby for the goods to be delivered on time or as per demand. It makes no sense because it has economic value. Nearness to market is essential for quick disposal of manufactured goods. It helps in reducing the transport cost also. I mean, if the market is nearby, the cost of transportation automatically reduces. It enables the consumer to get things at cheaper rate. If the cost of transportation is less, it can affect the rate of the product, so it becomes cheap for the consumer and it's easily affordable. Ready market is more essential for perishable and heavy commodities. Now, ready market is the immediate market which is available for perishable items because they can get spoiled and they can cause heavy losses to that particular factory or industry or that company, and heavy commodities also. Sometimes during the process of production, products become bulky. Now, when the processing is going on or the raw material through which it is being processed, um, they become the end result is that they become bulky and delicate. So these also have to be taken into consideration and proximity to the market should be available. For such final products, industries are located towards markets. For example, cake again. It is final product is heavier, but the raw material what I require for baking, now suppose you are baking a cake, the raw material what you require is all-purpose flour or essence or certain small things, cocoa powder. This is like very small, but when the cake, the final product when you make cake is heavy. So the such industries are located near market or cities. So you will see in certain areas now there are many cake shops which have come nearby, as there are many bakers who have come up with their own designs and creations. So it's easily available. Capital. Big, big, big thing when you have to start a company or an industry. Capital or huge investment is needed for the establishment of industries. Now, industries are located in those areas where banking and financial facilities are easily available. Now, if you start an industry or a company, you need some investments. You have had your investments, you need some loans. So, you need some facilities which are provided, financial facilities or banking facilities on a daily basis. Sometimes when you've taken, you repay the bank on an everyday basis or certain amount is paid or deposited into the bank. So, you need these facilities which are easily available also and nearby, and at the same time looking at the investment in that particular area where you are making, sometimes capital is hugely required. As a matter of fact, capital is attracted to those areas where industries are localized, which in turn attract more industry. Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai and Delhi, being the centers of industry, have better banking and financial facilities. Now, students, there are certain cities. These are most important cities in our country: Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai and Delhi, because they are centers of industry. There are major businesses happening here, big, large industries. There's a lot of economic value to these cities, and they have better banking and financial facilities. They have the big banks from where they're the big bank major centers over there, where all the financial facilities are available, as well as big financial transactions are taking place and calculations are done. Now, with an expansion of better banking facilities in rural areas, industries can also be located there. Rural areas are not what they were in those primitive stages or ages. Basically, now rural areas are also developing. There's a lot of development happening in rural areas. So there are banking facilities which have come. It's changed the whole scenario in past 10 years due to technology. A lot of advancements have come up, and the rural areas have grown in better ways, probably mostly in the positive side, if you see. So there are banking facilities which are there in rural areas. So industries also can be located over there because of these banking facilities which are available there. Now the government policies, the political factor. Politics plays a very important role. how is a political party running a particular country or the government is running that country makes a big difference in the success of that particular country. And this stands for every country in the world. There are rules and regulations, laws, duties, rights, which are framed so nicely and they're so clear. It's all for the people. So when conditions are favorable for people or the citizens around, it creates a very positive environment. So political factors also play a very important role. The government policies is one of them. The government may give boost to industries producing certain goods by giving several incentives. Now, there are certain incentives which are provided, like if at all you set up your industry in an area where it requires, where it can create good employment opportunities, and if that is seen by the government itself comes forward and gives you certain incentives. It may provide finance, land, water, some facilities it provides, transport and communication facilities at subsidized rates, at certain economical, you can say reasonable rates. It will promote industrialization in economically backward regions. As I said, some regions which lack a lot of other things, to promote that and to develop those areas or advance those areas in a better way, industrialization is promoted with a view of developing these regions. It also provides tax concessions. Concessions is given in tax. Marketing consultancy is done. Export and import facilities to industrialists and entrepreneurs. Now, these facilities are also available to these entrepreneurs or these particular industrialists who establish industries in such regions. For example, the D and beyond categories of Government of Maharashtra's industrial policy. Now, this is a certain section or certain policy which is given, industrial policy, where benefits are given to such industries where they set up their industries in backward regions. At the same time, government may also discourage location of industries in a particular area like coastal zones or economic sensitive areas. Now, as laws are framed, there are certain stringent laws which are framed for certain sections or certain areas which come under economic sensitive areas. Now, economic sensitive areas is something you can't set up an industry where the biodiversity gets affected, the environment gets affected, and it's sensitive. That area is sensitive, so you can't set up an industry, or you can't set up an industry in the coastal zone, because there are certain rules and regulations which have to be followed by certain industries, industrialists and entrepreneurs, and they have to abide by that. So the government policies also make a play a very important role in setting up an industry. Now, if you go against it, you're going to pay a big price. If you support it in the backward regions, you're going to get incentives. So that's how the governments work towards the betterment of every backward region and to develop or to create employment opportunities or to have a better standard of living for a area which is completely isolated. So this was the first political factor, that is the government policy. Now, setting up of TED. Now, this I'm going to talk about it a little more. Many governments support establishing such zones or regions which are specially developed for industrial production. Now, this is basically for production, manufacturing. In India, they are called special economic zones. What are special economic zones? They are developed for industrial production. They are in earmarked geographical zones which can be developed by private or public sector in a public-private partnership model. Now, it can be private sector or public sector, or it can be developed into a partnership or which is joined together by a PPP model, that is a public-private partnership model. These are mainly developed to boost export quality production in the country. Basically, export production has to be increased or to have the best export quality production in the country. Such SEZs attract many industries to be set up there. So the main purpose of these is to have boost export quality production and to have industrial production which can have a place in the economic market. The products have a place in the economic market. For example, steps near Santa Cruz. This is a particular example for SEZ. Now we'll talk about SEZ more in detail so that we have a better understanding. The first what I spoke about was government policies. I hope I'm clear with government policies and the policies which have to be stringent or which have to be lenient or flexible depending on the location where it is going to be set up, and it fits into the standards of the government policies, rules and regulations. The second is setting up of SEZ, special economic zones, places where industrial production is carried on. It's an industrial zone, and definitely to boost, to promote, to motivate these industrialists or entrepreneurs to give good export quality products. And the example what we studied is CEST, which is near Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz is in Bombay. It's a very busy market, and it's very well known place in Bombay for various reasons.